What's up, guys? This is The Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 1911 accessories. At least the top 5 that I would recommend for year 1911. And in this video, we're going to compare my pretty much stock GI 1911 with my super upgraded Wilson Combat and give you an idea of which accessories I think are going to be the best for you and maybe some that are the best for your wallet. Before that, I want to mention my patron supporters. Thank you guys very much. You guys are fueling the channel now that YouTube has basically demonetized my channel completely, so I really appreciate that. Because of that, we do patron only content. We also do a monthly giveaway. This month's giveaway is going to be for an Ontario Rat 3 knife and a K-Bar knife. So if you want to get into that giveaway, all you have to do is be a patron. I also want to mention ammo.com. They're a longtime supporter of the channel. Because of that, I leave the link in the description below. If you click the link, you'll get 20 bucks off any order of 200 bucks or more. I also have an Olight affiliate store in the description as well, so if you want to save 10% on any Olight on the store, all you got to do is click the link and use the code OUTLAW10. Now back to the video. So as you see here in front of you, I have two very different 1911s. They're the same design, theoretically, but they are significantly different not only in price, but also in function as well. One of them shoots significantly better than the other one, and I think you can kind of guess which one that is. And a lot of the reason for that, I think, has to do with some of the accessories, obviously the build quality and things of that nature, but some accessories can take your stock 1911 from being just your average pistol into something that shoots very, very nice. Remember that accessories don't make the shooter. It takes skill to shoot a handgun very well, so no accessories will trump skill. However, they will help you. So the first thing I want to mention with the 1911s is you see here the grip safety. Now the grip safety is not unique only to the 1911, but it certainly is the most famous gun with a grip safety, and it's really one of the only guns that you're going to see running around today that still gets sold in mass amounts today with a grip safety. And the reason for that, even though it is a good idea, is often because it doesn't work as well as advertised. So with the old style grip safety, as you see right here on this Rock Island, a lot of times when you go to get the gun out of the holster, you have a hard time depressing that grip safety all the way, and sometimes when you fire the gun, or at least attempt to fire the gun, it doesn't go off. That's a big problem, especially if it's in a self-defense situation. You know, if your life's in the line, you want your gun to go off. So in order to help with that problem, the first thing you're going to want to do is adjust your grip a little bit. Now, if you have big hands like me and you choke up really high in a pistol, a lot of times you can leave just a little gap right here and it will feel like that grip safety is pressed, but it's not. Especially that you have a manual safety right here, which a lot of guys, including myself, will ride the manual safety to help control the recoil. Well, that again leaves that little gap in your grip right there, and sometimes that's not depressed. And a simple way to fix that is simply going with an upgraded beaver tail grip safety like is sold on most 1911s today, or at least higher end 1911s. This is a Wilson Combat. I'm sure this grip safety comes from Wilson Combat, but I know for a fact you can buy them from several different companies, including Ed Brown. I've even installed Ed Brown extended grip safeties on other guns like a Colt, or I even installed one on a Springfield, I believe. So you definitely can do it, and you can even do it at home with the help of maybe a little bit of YouTube videos or a little bit of know-how. It's not that big of a deal, and you can have it so when your hand goes into the grip, as you can see there, it has no choice but to depress that grip safety because you have a little bit extra space there, or a little bit extra material there to help you push that in all the way and to make sure your gun fires all the time. And from there, number 4, I want to talk about checkering. I want to talk about checkering in your pistol. As you see here with this Wilson Combat, which is a very high-end 1911, one of the highest 1911s on the market, at least for price and quality. You can see there's 25 lines per inch all the way around. Now, why would you want that? Well, you want that to maintain that solid grip on the gun and maintain that recoil control so you can fire off those shots quickly, whether that be to impress your friends on the range or you win a shooting competition like a USPSA competition, for example, or whether you're shooting at a bad guy, worst case scenario, you're going to want to be able to put those rounds down quickly and effectively, and texture on a grip really helps with that. It also helps with muddy or bloody situations. Let's say you're shooting in the rain, you live in Portland where it rains every day out of the year besides 3. You're going to want texture on your grip so you can maintain that grip in all conditions. As you can see here with this GI 1911, that it has absolutely no texture whatsoever. Now, one easy fix is to buy a textured mainspring housing, because these again can be installed at home, maybe with a little help from a YouTube video, or maybe a booklet or whatever information you have, or maybe a friend who owns a 1911, you know, even a gunsmith. You can take it to a gunsmith and they'll install this for pretty cheap and it won't take very long. You just simply pop that out and you can put a checkered mainspring in. Again, you can buy those from Wilson Combat or any other manufacturer that you can think of. You can even get checkered mainspring housings that have a magwell attached to them, which is pretty cool, like I have on this 1911 here, and that will help you do those super fast reloads that you see on YouTube also, and that's really helpful with the 1911 because even though this is a 9mm, it still holds only 10 rounds, and your classic 7 or 8 round 1911, you can use all the reloading help you can get. So not only can you get a little bit of texture, but you can add that magwell, which is pretty cool. On the front side, you can do a couple of things. You can either add some of those rubber grips, like those hoe grips that you can add. You can send your gun in to get it checkered, which is probably the way I'd go because it's only around $100. Or you can honestly do what I used to do, which I bought some skateboard tape on eBay or wherever else. I always bought it on eBay. And you can wrap it a little bit under the grips there and put skateboard tape right there, and that will do the exact same thing as checkering, except it'll do it for about $1. So that is, to me, the best way you can get checkering on your grip, besides number 3, which I would say just change your grips. I mean, it won't give you that front to back checkering for your texture, which is why I think that's also important, because a lot of your grip comes from squeezing front to back and then side to side, obviously. But grips are a super easy, fairly cheap way to really increase your grip and increase the look of the pistol as well. As you can see, these two pistols right here have a very distinctive look. I actually really like the wood grips. I've always been a sucker for wood grips, but the problem, again, with wood grips is that you're going to be sliding around when it gets muddy or bloody or wet, if it's raining or if it's hot outside, you know, in the summer and your hands get sweaty, you can slip around and those times are going to go down because of the texture not being there on your grip. If you get something like a Wilson Combat like this, they look very good and they're very aggressive. You can go over to lock grips, which are my personal favorite for CZs and 1911s, and they have, I really like the bogey grips, and you can get something that looks really good. You can even get it customized to you if you want. You could also go on eBay or Amazon and you can find small shops that you can get actually for pretty cheap, somewhere between $40 to $100 for an awesome set of grips, and it will help you in function as well. Now at number 2, we're going to be talking about the trigger. So I would only suggest the trigger if you want a couple of different things. Now, I like changing the trigger out because the classic short trigger right here just really seems too short for my long fingers, and I don't like to get my finger all the way in there. I like to use the pad of my finger to shoot for the most part because it has the most nerve endings and it's the easiest to pull, and it doesn't throw off your shot one way or the other quite as much as using the inside of your finger, at least for me. That's how I learned to shoot, and that's how I like to shoot. So I like to change the trigger length a little bit to help me shoot better because I have slightly longer hands. Another reason to change the triggers, if you're going to go get a trigger job, and that decreases the overall poundage of the trigger. Now that isn't as big of a deal on something like a 1911 as it is maybe on a Glock, because 1911 triggers, even though they're, you know, they can be kind of rough compared to, like, say, a Wilson Combat, they're still pretty good. I mean, this Rock Island I got for, I think, right around $400, and the trigger pull is still pretty good. I mean, it's better than any Glock or any striker-fired pistol you're ever going to get. You know, the PPQ has a pretty awesome trigger, but honestly, this $400 1911 here will beat it. So I would change the trigger if you want a new trigger reach, or if you want to add some zazz to your gun, you know, a little spice in your life, and you want to have some holes in your trigger. I really like a serrated blade personally, and I also like a curved blade because that forces my finger to the center of the trigger, and then it helps me with that crisp trigger pull. I like to add accessories to my gun to help with some of the natural deficiencies that human beings have, and I like to shoot real fast. So if I can have a spot that helps me remember where my trigger should be, where my finger should be placed in the trigger, I personally really like that. Now, before we get to number one, I want to mention a couple of things that I think could help you. Number one, if you're a left-handed guy, you should add an ambidextrous safety. That would be really helpful. However, the good thing about a 1911 is even though you fire one-handed with your right hand, and you can press down on the magazine and get a little bit of extra grip there, or sorry, press down on the manual safety and get a little bit of extra grip there. You can also do it with just the grip with your left hand. So a lot of times when I fire 1911, I use downward pressure right here with my thumb on the grip, and I don't need that external safety. The downside to that is if you're trying to go on and off safety, you have to do this little guy to work the gun. So I really would suggest a ambidextrous safety. Also, I would suggest a magazine release. I really like this one from Wilson Combat. This is actually an extended magazine release, so I don't have to change my grip at all when I'm reloading. I can just press the magazine release and get back. So it decreases your reload times by a little bit. The reason why that's not in the top 5 is because a lot of times if you don't get the right one, if you get, like, say, a really big one, you can actually have your magazine inadvertently get released occasionally with either your firing grip or with a holster. It presses against the side of your holster and ejects the mag just a little bit, and you don't know that you have a magazine issue. Pull the gun out, you fire the first round, and then you have no more left after that. So I think it's really situational whether you'd want one on your gun or not. But the number one upgrade I would consider for a 1911, if it's not obvious at this point, is going to be the sights. I think the biggest detriment to a GI 1911 is the sights. And I think, personally, to me, it's one of the easiest things you can switch. Now, it's not super easy on some 1911s, because some 1911s will actually have the front sight permanently affixed to the gun. But on most 1911s, you can change it out. And as you see here, these classic GI 1911 sights have a lot to be desired. It is very difficult to get an accurate sight picture with these crappy little sights here. And there's a reason for that, because back in the day when this gun was designed, it wasn't designed to shoot at 100 yards. It was designed to, a lot of times, to be shot one-handed, either in an emergency, sometimes off horseback, which is pretty interesting. But it was really a point-and-shoot type gun back in the day. They didn't need awesome sights to shoot 3 yards and in an emergency. You would just shoot until the guy ran away or until he was gone, and then you'd reload your rifle, get back in the fight. But today, we use handguns for personal protection and things of that nature, and the handgun might be the only thing we have, so we might need to be accurate, and we might need to shoot a little bit longer distance, and we also have better technology today, and we have cool things like fiber optic sights, which for me, for bang for your buck, is probably what I would recommend for almost everybody. Now, if you're going in Afghanistan or you're doing some sort of WROL or shit hit the fan type scenario thing, you're probably not going to want a fiber optic sight because they do have a tendency to break every once in a while. If you're going to have a fiber optic sight, the advantages to it are there's no more visible sighting system that you can put unless you're going to mill it for a red dot. They even look like a red dot in bright sunlight, so they're really easy to use, really easy to pick up, even for aging eyes, which is really nice. And if I run a tritium sight of some kind, a lot of times I will use, well, I got one over here. I got a Glock barrel over here. I will use a high definition front sight with a blacked out rear as well. And they do also make high definition night sights for 1911s as well. So if you're going to go for a sighting setup, I would suggest the high definition front with a blacked out rear, either in tritium for like a WROL or a nightstand gun type of thing. But if it's a play around gun, I would suggest fiber optic. And the reason why I like a fiber optic sighting setup is because they're cheaper. You can get pretty decent fiber optic sights for $60 to $80 most of the time. Go to Dawson Precision or any number of different awesome fiber optic sight companies. You can even get them off eBay. A lot of times that's what I do. And then you can simply install them yourself. The reason why I like Dawson Precision is because I'm with the tools to install the sight yourself with a little sight punch and things like that. So that's pretty cool. These are actually Wilson Combat, and I really, really like these. But they will increase your speed of shooting, and they will increase your distance of shooting for sure. A lot of people say accessories don't help, but if you shoot these two guns back to back with these two sighting setups, you will shoot better with this one, no doubt about it. It's just easier to keep that front sight in focus, and it's easier to make a solid sight picture with the slightly higher and slightly more high quality sights of the Wilson Combat versus this Rock Island GI. If you disagree with my opinions or have a different top 5, feel free to put them in the comment section below. I'm always here to learn, so if you have a couple of accessories that I didn't mention or haven't heard of, like maybe a combat hammer for example, leave it in the comment section below. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.